guys, and welcome back to this video. So in this video we are going to start looking at databases. In the last two videos we've looked at document production, and now it's time to have a quick look at databases. So you are now going to prepare some reports. Dates are to be imported in the format of day, month, year. Using a suitable database package, import the file j2120 res.csv. So use these field names and data types as shown here. So we have our table here, and the field names and the data type, as well as the format that we're supposed to give these sets of data. So let's go ahead and import the res file. So let's open Microsoft Access, and we're going to create a new database. I'll call it this one, June 2020 paper 2-1 maybe. Let's call it May June, because okay, May June 2020 paper 2-1. Create. Okay, it's the slash that is actually a problem, so just remove this and do it that. Okay, so I'll close up this table. I like to close up this table so as not to confuse anyone. Usually what happens if you don't close the table, it will exist as table 1 as well, and you may need to delete it separately. So we'll go to external data, and we're going to go to a new data source, and from file and text file. And then we're going to browse and look for the file in question. So we want res, and go to OK. Next, make sure first row contains field names. Here you can even change the data types if you want. So just come here, question paper. Just take note of the date, because common error would come with the common import errors will have to do with the date in many cases. I have received several questions from students asking me why they had import errors despite doing exactly what I was doing in the test, rather in the tutorial. So it's very important that whenever you are importing a file, that the date format in the file and the date format in your Windows system or your Mac, whatever OS you're using, that the date formats are the same. So what I like to do is to go to the file and open the file maybe with a spreadsheet package. So this file was supposed to be growth. Just double click on it and open it with a spreadsheet. Was it growth? No, it was not growth. I'll just close this. It was actually res. So just come here and open it. Okay, so you take note of the date. So you can automatically see that the date is 06, 09, and 57. So you need to define what is 06. This is the day, followed by the month, and followed by the year. How did I know? Because there is no month which starts with 25. This must be the day, and the month would have been here because there is no year or month which is 2076 or something. So basically you can tell from looking at the dates which one format that you have. So already for me the format is this one, 02, which is the day. Today is the 2nd of October, and the month, and then the year. So for me it is perfectly fine. But if you have the dates the other way around, for example, you have the year, then the month, and then the day, or the month and then the day and the year, when you try to import this file which has got a different format, it will try to put in 23 where there's supposed to be for example a month, and it will realize there's no month which has got 23 there's no year with 23 months, so to say. So please take note of that. Usually import errors will have to do with wrong data format, or data types, or the range is out of range and stuff like that. Just take note of that. Okay, so I'll come back to my access. I'll make sure that it is day, month, year, the date order, and sometimes the leading zeros are important. They may tell you in the question paper, but in this case, they have not told us anything, so I'll leave them as that. So let's go ahead and start to work on the data types as they are. So I'll just push this on the side and probably just, can I drag this side? Yes. So everything else is supposed to be text. On the date of birth, it's supposed to be date with time. And then that should be fine. But on the age, it's supposed to be just an integer. You can see here it's saying integer here. So just make sure you change from long integer. Does it matter if you change it from long integer? Yes, it does matter, because long integer occupies larger space or a higher storage space compared to integer. Okay, so if it's a large database, then you're saving on some space that would have been allocated to your database. Your database is not going to be very large. So laps is supposed to be number as well. So change from integer to number. And then the other one is supposed to be date with time. That should be fine. Then integer, and then the last one boolean. So event rank is supposed to be text, and then points supposed to be integer, and then race number is supposed to be integer as well. And then this one is not supposed to be date, it's supposed to be boolean with yes, no. And then just say okay. Then from here I can go ahead now to next and next. Then we now need to set our primary key. So we need to go back here, and we've been told to set entry ID as primary key and save the data. So entry ID as primary key. So choose my own primary key and do that. So please don't let Access add a primary key, because what it does, it adds another column to your data or to your database or your table, and it will have ID, and you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and so on. This is unnecessary. Please don't do that. Okay. So choose your own primary key and then specify which column you would want to have as primary or key field. So next, and then finish. Okay. The problem is because I have the file opened in Access, rather in spreadsheet here. So that's why I'm getting that error. So in case you are having the same error, please just go ahead and close this file. You cannot import a file which is already open. So I opened it because I wanted just to see the dates that the format of the dates. So after that, I should have closed it and then try to import it again. And this time around, we don't have any import errors. So here is the file. And before we go any further, we need to set some other properties. So take it to design view, and we need to set the properties that we've been told. So for example, set the boolean to yes, no. So it should be displayed as yes, no. So come back here and set the format for the boolean license, set it to yes, no. And then anything else, the time should be this format. So just come back here, and date and time. So format should be the one which is, I think, long time. This one here. So just set it like that. And then anything else, I think that should be all, because the other ones which are integers are all formatted as numbers. So they're all integers because we set them previously. So there's nothing else to do with decimal places and so on. So that should be fine. So now you can take your screenshot to show how you've set your primary key, field names, and data types as used in the table. So just come here. Notice that the primary key is this one, where you have a small key at the top, the field name, and the data type, this one. So just go ahead, take a screenshot of this and paste this as your new evidence document. It's supposed to be evidence number 5. So go ahead to your evidence document and paste the evidence number 5 there. Okay, so that should be fine. Don't have to worry about resizing and stuff like that. Okay, so the next thing that you need to do now is to import import the file J2021, rather J2120. Somebody should have been confusing us. Why not just say J2021? We are now saying 2120. If this was a year, would have been long gone, all of us, including your great grandchildren. No one will be around by this time, by this year. It's amazing how life is and time flies so fast. The guys in the 1800s are no more today. The guys in the 1900s are no more. Well, there are some guys in the late 1900s like myself. Okay. Okay, so we're going to import the file as a new table in our database. So it's a categories file, and we're going to set the cat code as a primary key. So let's go ahead and do that. So after this, save this file, and I'll close it, and I'll go to external, and this time around I'm going to go to file and then text file and browse. Then I'm looking for categories. So open it and then go to OK, and then next, first row contains field names, and then let's see where we don't have to change anything about the data types. Okay, so it actually sounds as if it's raining outside. Can you imagine? And it would be nice. It would be first time the rains. Okay, away with that. Category, and then all this should be text. I don't mind not changing anything here, so just leave it as it is and go here and set the primary key to be what? Category code, which is this one, and go to next and then finish it. So this one is done, and then we've been asked to create a one-to-many relationship, okay, between cat code in the categories table and cat code in the rest table. So go ahead and do that. So you need to make sure that both tables are not opened when you're creating relationships, and then go to relationship, database tools, then relationships, select both tables, add them, and then what you just need to draw is just, you know, click and hold and drag and drop onto the other one in the other table. The first thing you want to do is to reinforce referential integrity. And I've gotten a number of questions from people asking me, is it always necessary to enforce referential integrity in a database, and why should we enforce referential integrity? So basically at IGCSE level, it's not compulsory, it's not mandatory that you have to enforce referential integrity. But as a good practice for creating databases, it's always good to enforce referential integrity. So what this does is that it always checks that there is a matching record or a matching column in another table. So it checks the integrity of the data in one column to the data that is in the other column that you're trying to match. Sometimes I would want to match, let's say, instead of matching these two because they contain the same data, if I attempted and match it with the first name, okay, because it's a point at which you want to link these two data items, okay. So what will happen is that it will tell you that these two columns are not compatible, they fail the integrity, the referential integrity test or check, but it's always a good practice, okay. So sometimes the referential integrity check will fail. Especially in the exam, I've heard of students who tried to enforce the referential integrity and it did not work. It gave them an error, and so they got stuck and left the database section and went maybe to presentation or mail merge, and then, you know, at the end of the exam, every time they attempted to enforce referential integrity, it just didn't work, so they got stuck. And I think Cambridge noticed that that was the case in many cases. Students were abandoning the question because they got stuck on the referential integrity, and they did make an announcement to say, hey, it's not mandatory that you have to enforce referential integrity at IGCSE. Of course, at higher levels like IT, when you guys do IT at LS or A level, you might realize that actually enforcing referential integrity is almost mandatory. But again, if a table does not allow you to enforce referential integrity, just do away with it. Just uncheck it and then go and do other stuff. So in this case, let's attempt to see if it will allow us to enforce refresh integrity. So it does allow us to enforce refresh integrity. How do we know? We have no error and we have this 1 to infinite symbol. If it doesn't enforce refresh integrity, let me just maybe spend time here and just I don't mind. So if you don't enforce refresh integrity and you do this, the relationship is just created like this. Okay, it's a one-to-many relationship. And how do you know? If you select the table, and you will see here at the bottom it will say type one-to-many. But what we want is to enforce refresh integrity so that our table has some level of decency. So we're going to provide evidence that the relationship has been created. So just double click here, select the table where the relationships are coming from, and then get a screenshot of these 3 objects here, just like that. And this is evidence enough. The examiner will look at the bottom here and see that you have your one-to-many, this one here, one-to-many relationship, and it's between this field in the categories table and this field in the race table. So this is the evidence enough that they need. So come back here and paste your evidence in step 21, just on there. So I'll just resize it so it just fits on that page there. Okay, that should be fine. The next thing that you need to do now, you go to step number 22, and with step number 22 you need to enter the following details as a new record in your database. So again, I'll just minimize this and bring up my database. So just say okay and close this, save it, and then I'll come back to my category, my REST database, and create a new record at the bottom there. So then I'll start to add the data that I have in this new record. So it is XC 0657, and then it is Britain, not Britain, Britain, and then it's Jamie, capital J, and then it's bike runners, and then it's SV 19 PM, and then the date is 25th of September 1958. This is when my mother was actually born, this year, not the month or what. So it's been a long time. My mom is old now. So you can imagine, if I'm starting to have gray hair myself, then what more my mom? Just joking. Yeah, but I have gray hair anyway. It's just a sign of wisdom. Okay, it's the time I'm supposed to set. 01, 15, and 26. And then next we're supposed to put 5. And then next we're supposed to put 90. And then next, for some reason, I don't know. Okay, I thought I had entered the record. I was like, why do I have 5, 19, 1162, and the last one is supposed to be yes? Okay, so you just need to check this for data entry errors, like typing errors and stuff like that. I think I've done a perfect job. I'll just go ahead and save it, and then so just maximize this once again. And now we go to the section for dealing with reports. And so we are going to do, how many reports do we have before we, okay, so I don't know whether I should end this one here, and okay, let's do the report. We'll figure out how long this video will be. So step 23 says, using fields from both tables, produce a tabular report that selects the records where ability is elite or expert, and gender is female, and license is yes. So first show, guys, just give me a second. I switch on the light. I think it's getting dark here now. Just a second. Okay, good. The light is on. Now I can see properly. So I was talking about the criteria that we've been given for picking up which records should be on our report, and then we should show only the fields first name, last name, gender, and so on. We sort the data in as descending order of points, and then orientation is portrait. It should fit a single page, and then the title at the top should be top ability females, and then it should always have your name as usual, center number, and candidate number. So whenever you are dealing with a question like this one, I've always said that it is much easier to understand this question in two parts. The first part is they're asking you to extract the data that is required, and the second part they're telling you now use that data to create a report. So to be able to extract a data, then you need to set up a query. A query is a statement that is sent to a database requesting for specific data that is meeting a certain criteria. And I don't want to talk about the types of queries, but you know that, or you may want to know that there are different types of queries. Like the query in this case that we are creating is known as a select query, because it is used for selecting certain aspects of or certain columns from our database to be displayed. There are other queries like action queries, which can perform an action on a database like deleting, updating, and stuff like that. But at this level, I think we only aimed at select queries. So we're going to create a select query. So we'll divide this into two. So this top part, first of all, is the query. So I'll just put a Q there so that you know this is the query. And this last part actually has to do with the report. How do you know which part is the query and which part is the report? First of all, for the query, you will need a criteria. So anything that has to do with the criteria, then that's know that goes in the query. So anything to do with the criteria goes in the query, and then also anything to do with which fields should be displayed, because you cannot have a criteria. Criteria for what? So you need to have a list of fields that are meeting certain criteria. So those fields are the ones that you have here. Okay, so this also the field names are part of the query. So automatically you know that this is part of the query, these two, and then the rest of it can be done in the report. Okay, so you can, even if you look at the step number, this other one, you can tell which one is going to be the query. I'll show you when we get to this step, but I just wanted to make it easy, guys. You know, I don't want a situation where you are getting stuck. No, I fear access. I'm not comfortable doing access questions in the exam. No, guys. That's why we teachers are there, is to make this stuff easy for you. We want you to get the top in the world, awards and stuff like that. We want you to enjoy ICT and get almost everything correct in the exam. Okay, so let's go ahead and create first of all. So we will create first of all our query, and then after we create the query, we'll use this query now to create a report based on the data that we would have extracted using our query. Then we can go ahead and create our report. So I'll come back here to my access, and then I'll close up this one, and I'll need now to create, I'll just maximize this. I'll come create, and I'll select query design. Why query design and not query wizard? Well, you check most of my videos, I've been doing query wizard, but the last couple of videos I started doing query design. It's much easier because you have the two tables selected, and then like that, and then I'm just double clicking on the fields that I want in the order in which they appear. So the first thing that I want to do is, first of all, come here. So I'm just going to remove these stuff that I've put here. Just remember what we talked about. So just, do I need to remove this small dot here? Okay. So remember, this is the query and this is the report, or this will be part of the report, formatting the report now so that it has the presentation that we want it to have. So the first thing that you want to do is start with this one that says shows the field, because you want first of all to select which fields that you want to extract, and then you need to provide the criteria for some fields, because some fields may not meet a specific criteria. For example, some fields among these guys these fields that you select here, some will be male, some will be female. Some will have the license, some will not have the license. Some will be elite or expert, some will not be. So this is why, first of all, you will need to select which fields you want. After you select the fields you want, then what is the criteria? Who should meet what condition that you have set? Okay, so I hope that is clear. So first of all, we will start with the list that you have. The first thing is first name followed by last name, then gender. So just come here. It's supposed to be first name followed by last name and then gender. Where is gender? Gender is in this other table. Just double click on it, and at the bottom here you will see that every time you double click something, it is being added at the bottom here with the table where it is coming from and so on. So that should be that. So the next one that we'll pick up is supposed to be license, club, then license and points. So we'll go for club, we'll go for license, and we'll go for points in this same order. So please don't change the order. And then lastly, it's supposed to be ability. So we'll come back here and pick up ability. So ability is coming from the other table. That's the beauty of a relational database, because you can create one single query which can read data from both tables and be able to send it back to whatever format you're using to display your data. So we are done now selecting the actual data that we need. The only thing now that I want to do is, after I've done this, so let me just highlight it. I'll put it as red. So I'm done with this. Now what I need to do is to get, first of all, the criteria. So I'll start with the ability must be elite or expert. So I'll come here. Under ability, I'll type elite or expert. So somebody again once asked, say, why should I use this or in the same line? Why can't I write elite, and then at the bottom, because there is or here, why can't I write expert at the bottom there? What's the difference if I wrote it this way? So what happens is that, first of all, it will run the query with all the other criteria and look for all the guys that are elite, and then whether they are male or what, it doesn't care. And then to again run the query and look for all the guys that are experts separately. That's what this will happen. And then to combine the two lists and list them, and you might have certain criteria not represented. But in this case, you want to have them in one run. Okay, in one run, we want all this information extracted the first time the query runs, not it running twice. Okay, then we need gender is female. So gender must be female. Why not? It's always the female. They always want gender equality, female. Good. Okay, good. Then the license is yes. Yes, women are licensed to equality. Let's come here. Just joking anyway. Gender, and then license must be yes. Okay. So again, you can go ahead and run this information and you can see how it appears in your query. So you have the expert and you have got the elite. Take note that you have only those that are yes showing, and you've got the female. But just to make it interesting, guys, because I mean, that's the point of these tutorials. What would happen if we had expert here? Just so you will see what I was talking about. Look at the criteria that we have. Of course, we have female as usual. We've got license, yes. We've got ability, yes. And I mean, they're supposed to be elite, and we've got the expert. So what would happen? What's the difference with having or in the same line and using this or here in the thing? So if you run this query now, see what happens. So you will have the expert quite well. There will be all experts, but take note, you will see that you've got no somewhere, and for the license you see some no's, and it's possible that you will see some males again when we're told that it's supposed to be female. So what happened? What went wrong? So if you come back here, the idea, what is happening is that it ran, first of all, the first time the query ran, The first time the query ran, it extracted all females who had the license and they were elite. That was the first run. The second run, it didn't care about anything else here. It didn't care about the gender as long as they were experts, and it listed them all. Whether they had a license or they did not have a license, whether they are male or female, it did not care. So you need to be careful about how you use this tool here. So I'm just going to undo this and leave it like that. Run it one more time. And this time around, it is the experts who have a license and are female, and the elite who have a license and are female. Okay, good. So that is that. The next thing now, we are done with the query. The only thing that we just need to do is to save the query. I like to save it with a step number. So this is step 23 query. So I'll save, I'll call it step 23 query, so that I remember that this will be my step 23 query. And then, so I'll close up this and I'll come back to the question paper. Now I have to do the report. So to do the report, I need to actually get to the, to start the report wizard. So create report wizard. I need to select where is my data coming from. Is it from a table or a query? I know it. I just created step 23 query. And all my data is coming from the query. Come in there, next, next, next. Don't do anything here, just go next. And then here, you need now to set the orientation of your page. So we know that the page is supposed to be portrait. So by default, it's portrait, so that's fine. And initially you were told, guys, I should have mentioned that you are told to create a tabular report. So because it's a tabular report, then you need to make sure that the layout is tabular. Sometimes they can tell you to create a columnar. If it's a form, for example, they can tell you to create a columnar. So you need to be wise, okay? So in this case, we're told it's tabular, and we're told that it should fit on a single page wide. So just make sure that adjust the fields width so that all fields fits on a single page, fits on a page. This is on single page wide, okay? What determines whether it will fit on a single page is the amount of data that you have. In this case, we're told to fit on a single page, so they are anticipating that the amount of data that we have may not go over past one page. So includes only the text at the top ability female. So if you come here, go to next, you can enter the title here, top ability females. Okay, top ability females. Or you can come and enter the title here. Just select this and enter the title that you want to enter that. So now let's come back here. It has your name, center number, and country number on the report. So I'm just going to remove this because this is going to be on a single page, so I don't need to have the page footer. The page footer becomes necessary when you have got multiple pages. But in this case, I'm told that this is going to be on a single page, and it doesn't have to have the page footer. So I'll go Chikasa Evans ZM556001. Okay, and then we just need to take it to layout view so that we align the columns. You can tell that some data is not fully visible. So what I'll do is just select these columns and drag this side, just reduce this, select this, use the key direction key on the keyboard, drag it like that, and select this. You can just drag it, and you can even resize it like this. I'm holding shift key with the arrow and I'm resizing it with my keyboard. I like to do this because if you use the mouse, sometimes the layout may be affected. So just make sure that no text is cut, no name is cut, and this is supposed to be, just bring it here. It's supposed to be license, and bring this one here as well, and just increase this to yes. This is supposed to be points. Just take it here and have this taken aside, and just make sure that there's no text which is not affected. So check the other stuff that looks good, and then we can go ahead and print this. Okay, Sometimes you may want to remove the lines. It's not necessary that you have to remove these lines where you say, no, I want to have the background color like this, or that. Please, it's not always necessary that you have to do this. Okay, so please don't be say, why should I have these lines, gray and white lines shading and stuff like that. It's not always necessary that you should remove that. You will get your full marks. Okay, so let's go ahead and print this. Of course, my printer is off. I'm not going to print it, but you can go ahead and view this report in print preview, and you can see that it looks good. You have got your details there, and it is just one page, and everything is fitting on one page, so that looks perfectly fine. Okay, so that's the report from step number 23. So thank you so much for watching, guys, and I'm going to see you shortly in the next video when we talk about step number 24.